Welcome to Above the Garage. Hi, friends. Welcome to our very first podcast that is not about The Handmaid's Tale. We are in uncharted waters here, beware, but it's still about Elisabeth Moss, so we do have an anchor. So these podcast spin-off episodes are going to be about her new show, Shining Girls, which premiered on Apple Plus TV. They released the first 3 episodes on Friday, so we're going to release discussion on episode 1 on Monday, which is this one, episode 2 on Tuesday, and episode 3 on Wednesday. And then in future weeks, the 1 episode a week will come out on Tuesdays in between our spoiler-free and deep dive of The Handmaid's Tale. We also have a new friend to introduce to you. When we announced we were starting our Shining Girls podcast, it was brought to our attention that another huge Handmaid's Tale and Lizzie fan, Deanna, had a similar thought. So we decided to invite her, and she's joining us and bridging the Handmaid's Tale fandom at the same time through our love of Lizzie. And we're super happy to have you here. Welcome, Deanna.
Hi, guys. It's really nice to be here. And I'm really glad that you invited me.
Yeah, we are too. All right, so quick note. Some of us have read the book and some of us have not, and that was intentional. So we wanted to have a mix because it's interesting subject matter to discover fresh. So in this episode, Kimberly and Yulia happen to be our representatives who are coming in with fresh eyes, having not read the book. Let's go ahead and do our round of introductions.
Hi, I'm Melissa.
Hi, I'm Deanna.
Hi, I'm Kimberly.
Hi, I'm Scarlett.
Hi, I'm Yulia.
And I'm Kate. So Shining Girls is based on a 2013 novel called The Shining Girls, written by Lauren Bucas, a South African author. I read it back then and it was amazing, and I guess Silke Louisa did too, who is bringing it to television. So the 2 writing credits are Lauren Bucas and Silke Louisa. It's directed by Michelle MacLaren, Elisabeth Moss, and Dana Reed. And Elisabeth Moss and Lindsay McManus started a production company called Love and Squalor, and this is their first project together. The music's by Claudia Sarin, cinematography, Robert McLaughlin, film editing by Hugo Diaz, art direction by Martha Sparrow, who also did Handmaid's Tale, set direction, Janelle Marie, costume design, Sonu Mishra, makeup, head makeup artist Stacey Herbert. I could go on and on, but check out their IMDb page for the many, many people who were involved in creating this. We'll run through the producers in the next episode too. Obviously, Kirby, the lead, is played by Elisabeth Moss. Jamie Bell plays Harper, and Wagner Moura plays Dan. So let's get into it. The first episode opens in 1964 on the steps of Kirby's apartment as Harper walks up to her and her makeshift circus. My first note was impressive circus, Kirby, creative kid. And first clue that everything is not as it seems is when he says, my knee locks up after it rains. And she's like, well, it didn't rain. And he's like, oh no, not here, not yet. And he's being charming enough. All is well until he tears the wings off the bee. First we find its shine, then we take it away. Even though I read the book first, I found watching him pulling the wings off the bee like very upsetting. Did it shock you, Kimberly and Yulia?
I was shocked that he was not stung by the bee.
Me too.
Because he caught it in his hand. And I was like,
I was more shocked that he could basically Mr. Miyagi the bee. And he was
right.
Just
catch it. Yeah, I was surprised when he let it out, but I suppose that is confirmation that it's CGI. But yeah, it's disturbing. And side note, intentional animal torture and cruelty is one of the most consistent findings of common behavior among serial killers. I don't know if bees qualify as animals here, but I think they should with the wing tearing.
Well, that's how Dexter started, but he was killing baddies, I guess.
Yeah. Remind me a lot Mindhunter. Do you see the show? They talk about serial killers, and one thing they say about the people who is cruel to animals tend to do the same with persons.
Well, that's upsetting.
So actually, we already know that he's the bad guy because he's hurting the bee. In the very first scene, we know, oh my God, this is the creepy neighbor you don't want to meet.
And I think Jamie Bell said that in an interview. This isn't a whodunit, it's a howdunit. And it's, yeah, I don't know how many other shows you know all along who the killer is. I'm sure there are several, but it's interesting.
I think it's also interesting that we know his name, but it's never said in the in the first 3 episodes. I think
Oh yeah,
his name is never really mentioned.
Huh. I wonder when it is. So he gives Kirby a pony, a Pegasus actually, to hold on to until he comes back, and says another mysterious, "You'll take it, you always do," and walks off. And she starts to go inside, but she turns and indeed turns around and grabs it. And it's interesting though, instead of a horse like in the book, it's actually a Pegasus, which is a mythical flying Greek horse that was famous for helping gods and heroes achieve great victories. Some of the meanings of Pegasus are freedom, power, and the eternal spring of imagination and creativity. Also interesting that he gave her a winged horse and tore the wings off of a bee.
I just wonder if you guys thought by just that first interaction that he repeats this, like he kind of knows what's going to happen because he tells her, "You always do." So it just, obviously I've read the book.
Yeah. I was wondering how many times has he gone back? Does he keep a note somewhere? Does he have a diary? Like, this is the 30th time I've been here.
I think it might be all the Shining Girls that he's referring to when he says you always come back, but let's say it is just Kirby. That's really weird.
Yeah, what's the point to me also? Like does it change every time? The little thing when he goes back and visits the people, or is it
right? Why would it be repeated?
Because the outcome is not as good as he expected it to be, so he needs to go back, or like
maybe we'll find out. I don't know.
I think it's part of the stalking that he does, but I'm not 100% sure. That's just kind of like my idea.
He seems to get a lot out of the stalking. Yeah.
I think he do that because he enjoy more the stalking, all the process than the killing himself. You know?
And he wants to make sure that like everything happens the way that he wants it to happen. He gave me that impression too throughout this episode.
So after the credits, we open in Kirby's apartment in 1992, and your first shot of her is like multiple versions of her in the mirror, which is appropriate. And she's making note of her cat's name in this journal, and actually like memento style, you know. And on the topic of memento, I find it funny that she hides the book under the bed instead of keeping it with her, because might not that just disappear as well? Luckily it doesn't, but I guess she can't tattoo it on her body like him because it keeps changing. But I would keep that book like on my person at all times. Then we meet Kirby's roommate with an attitude. Hello, Amy Brenneman. Kirby's moving to Florida, and her roommate tells her she'll have to get a new roommate. She's not covering the rent for her. And then on the way out the door, Kirby says, "Bye, Mom." Did you guys think that was her mom at first, Juliet and Kimberly?
Nope.
Yeah.
I did. But I don't know why. There's no reason to. I just figured it was their mom.
Yeah. I liked how they played it so that it was a reveal right after.
I was looking, I remember in one of the interviews, probably one of that you'd posted, Diana, that Lizzie was saying her, like one of her favorite shows is The Leftovers. And Amy Brenneman is in The Leftovers, so I'm wondering if Lizzie had a part in casting her because she likes her.
Oh, that's right. I bet so.
I think I saw a recent post, I'm not sure, by Amy, where she says like she invited me. I think, yeah, Lizzie was the one who invited her.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
I like her. I like her in this. Good. Kirby's listening to a Walkman on the way to work, Miss Walkmans, and it's playing Danger by Pylon, which the lyrics are pretty appropriate. Danger, be careful, be cautious. I'll get you unaware. Look out, I'll get you. Maybe if she'd been listening to a happier song, the show would have gone a different direction. She works at the Chicago Sun-Times, where she's an archivist. She tells somebody she's leaving on Friday, and the woman unconvincingly says she's sorry she's losing her, but then can't come up with Kirby's name. You can tell she's like fairly unknown and keeps her head down.
We need to note, obviously, she's looking at the things on her desk that we saw in her diary. So what was it? Blue scissors, red ruler, what was it? Godzilla cup?
Godzilla cup.
Yeah.
And the drip and underneath the pipe was dripping.
Right. The cup has different purposes.
Yeah.
So now we meet Dan, who's wading through the flooding, the Great Chicago Flood of 1992 to be exact, Fun fact, the loop was submerged in 24 million gallons of water from the river when an abandoned subterranean tunnel was breached during repairs of a downtown bridge. But Dan suspects something else is going on in the tunnel because he points out that like half the police force is down there and they clearly found something. The detective won't tell him what it is just yet. And yeah, now we see why she's taking notes because we're back at Kirby's desk now. On her return to the office, her desk is not in the same position. And she touches the scissors and the ruler that we were just talking about, I think to probably ground her. And the Godzilla pen, or the Godzilla cup is now a pin holder, not catching water. And there's a Cubs pin. We see you, Lizzie. And her boss comes up and says that her friend called her 5 times. We don't have any signs of friends so far, so that's exciting. And Dan's a reporter at the same paper Kirby works for, the Sun-Times, and he's coming back from some sort of fall from grace, it seems, because his boss was like, we agreed you could come back for some small pieces. And she kind of implies that people don't like him also, but she lets him follow the tunnel murder case that he wants for now. Then Kirby's talking to a detective, and we find out Sean Linsky is not a friend. He's the detective that worked on her case. And he's asking her where she came up with the name Kirby Mizrachi. So apparently she's changed her name. And he emphasizes that changing everything is important, coming up with a new identity, her name, her look. And we learn that it's been 6 years of living with things like changing around you like this would drive me insane long before now. And he tells her they found another body that has similarities to her own near murder. And she's looking at the pictures, but we learn that she didn't see her attacker. He attacked her from behind, and all she remembers is her voice. She says, he's everybody, he's nobody, he's all the fucking time.
In my mind, when I was watching it, I was just like, well, she has seen him, but obviously she doesn't know that.
Oh, right. As a kid. So Kirby goes home to 2B, and it looks like the layout has changed, right? Because when she left before, she left through the kitchen, I think. And her mom's in the bedroom with the man. So Kirby lays down, and the next thing you hear is someone pounding on the door, and you see Harper bust down the door as Kirby wakes up. So I guess she dreamt him. That's that implication.
I'm a little confused with that scene because you also see Harper kicking the panel off the house. Like he's not leaving the house through the door. He's kicking the panel, and then it shifts to Kirby listening to the banging on the door. And for me, that's the first time her reality shifts because instead of a cat, the dog walks in, and the dog has the same name of the cat.
Right.
And then we see her change the name, like, I don't have a cat, I have a dog. So
right.
I'm pretty sure it has something to do with Harper and the house because it's the same sound. But obviously we don't know yet.
Right.
Was he angry in that scene?
I don't even know why he was kicking the panel off. I was talking to Melissa yesterday, and she isn't that when he goes to look for Jin Suk?
Yeah, sometime before. I think like the house was barricaded overall. I think like all the doors were like had panels in front of them and stuff like this. So maybe, I don't know. I just thought like maybe he somehow ended up in the house in his time jump and needed just a way out of this house also. Like, I don't know. Like in this particular time, he kind of ended up in the house and everything was shut down. So he needed to create a door to leave the house to do something in this time. This is how I read it, at least.
You said it was not a door. I thought it was a door that he knocked down.
It was a door. It was a
door.
Panel.
Okay.
It was a panel door. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
We also saw the little horsey beside her when she was laying down. It was on her bedside table.
I didn't notice that. Now we flash to Philippa Sue. Hello, Jin Suk. And she has a very pretty red umbrella. Did you guys notice that every single person in the scene has an umbrella? It almost looks like a scene from a musical. I was kind of expecting everyone to break out and dancing, but maybe that's just because of Philippa. Are you guys umbrella people? My friends have a very hard line. Like half of us love umbrellas and half of us hate umbrellas, which makes no sense, I know, because there's no reason to hate umbrellas. Do you guys use umbrellas?
I don't. I hate them. Sorry.
You're one of me.
Just I'd rather get wet.
I always lose them, so I didn't carry them.
I never find the umbrella when the time I need it. I never find it.
My goodness. We have a full panel of non-umbrella users.
I like umbrellas. Every time I take one, it's not raining.
Well, that's
seriously.
That's a good way to make sure it never rains. Take it anywhere.
Yeah, exactly. Especially on vacation or something. Yeah.
Kimberly, you got to weigh in now. Umbrella or no umbrella?
I haven't used an umbrella in such a long time, but I'm gonna say I don't like umbrellas.
I'm proud of you guys.
I also don't like it if people use them inside because it's one of those things, it's like bad luck.
You're superstitious.
Yeah, and don't open it inside.
Same. I'm also superstitious, and my children aren't. So Kaya loves like opening umbrellas inside in front of me. Okay, so there's more distorted images in the door as she walks in, and she gets to her office and very efficiently gets rid of the kids. I would like her to teach me how to clear a room of children that. It was very impressive. On her desk, she finds the wingless bee. So I guess he also went back for that. And her coworker says that someone who?
The Egyptians,
thank you. I didn't write it down. Says that bees are believed to be messengers from the heavens.
So did he go back to the stairs in 1964?
Seems like it.
To get the bee, because in the first scene he left after Kirby went inside the house. He just left the bee there too. So did he went back to the stairs and got the bee, or is this another bee from another time? Or like I
don't think he would hesitate to pull the wings off another bee, but I think it's probably supposed to be the same bee.
Mm-hmm. So this is like the rainy day he was also talking about, maybe.
Oh, yes.
Because he was talking about it's like his legs hurting or get stiff when it rains, and Kirby didn't, like child Kirby doesn't get it, and
right
on the day when he's putting the bee on Ginny's desk, it's a rainy day.
But the Kirby scene would have to have come first in that case.
Yeah.
Oh, very
but maybe he knows that he's going to go back to Ginny's reality, so it's hurting in advance. I don't know.
And his knee senses the impending storm in this different time. And then Dan's in a bar talking to a detective about Julia's murder. I say Julia too, just like our Julia.
Oh, Julia is fine, I think, because she's American. So
maybe it was her family that said it. Somebody says Julia. I was excited for you. But he's talking. Dan's in a bar talking to a detective about Julia's murder. And Pavlo Bannock is the suspect, and he says that he had confessed after Julia disappeared, and the detective kind of admits he bullied him into a confession without a lawyer, and he's trying to get Dan to write an article saying that he did it, but Dan's refusing. And then I think the detective implies that Dan was arrested for domestic abuse. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. But he leaves because Dan is refusing to print what he wants. And then we see Kirby studying an old article about Julia being missing when Marcus surprises her from behind and tries out her Walkman. She's listening to a song called Ain't You by Kleenex. There are not many lyrics in this, but take your radio and your lies, take your radio and your love. So I don't know what that implies. Maybe not good.
Well, it's clear that they definitely have a crush on each other.
Yes. Yeah. Which is good since they're soon to be married to each other. But he comes up behind her though.
Weird.
I mean, he probably doesn't know about her attack, but I would think anyone approaching her from behind is a bad thing at this point in her life after that. And her boss sees her looking at the Julia Madrigal articles, and there's this whole miscommunication so that Dan thinks that his coworker is trying to steal the story, and Kirby lets him think that instead of clarifying that she's looking at them for herself, her personal interest. And then we're back with Jin Suk, and she gets locked outside looking through the telescopes on the roof. By the way, I would have been terrified to send a classroom of children up on that roof to look at those telescopes. Is like such an easy fall. It starts raining and she sees that her red umbrella has magically appeared. So he really likes to mess with his victims.
I feel like she should be more weirded out by that. Like,
yeah, very right.
Yeah, like she didn't react much. I was like, seriously, if my red umbrella just like was there, something's wrong.
Yeah, and she even when her coworker is gonna like report the door being broken, locked, whatever, she's like, no, don't do that. But like, I'd have been out of there. That is a giant red flag in the form of a red umbrella.
And it starts raining just, she sees the umbrella, it's not even raining yet.
Yeah, no, it's all very
interesting.
weird. So Kirby finds Dan's notebook that has the address of the suspect in Julia's murder. And you can tell she knows this is going to be her murderer. Like she's completely confident that this is the guy that attacked her. And so she goes to the house and his mom tells her to come in and Kirby doesn't want to, which is a reasonable reaction as he's nearly murdered her, but she does. And she gets into his room and it's like disconcerting and chaotic. There's a TV full of static. You can hardly see him. You see his head like floating. He's saying something about she likes the fuzzy noise and it's just confusing. We don't know who she is. Kirby doesn't know who she is. He's swearing he didn't hurt Julia and Kirby's stressed. And she says, why are you talking like that? Meaning, why does his voice not sound like what she expected? And then she realizes he has a baby. And then finally the tension breaks and as she accepts that it's not him and she apologizes and runs out of there.
She has some balls to walk into that dark bedroom. I was
Yeah,
like, girl, what are you doing?
Yes.
And what does she have? Like I think we've seen her with a knife maybe, but like I would have been terrified to do
Some
that.
creepy bloke in the corner. Like,
Yes.
what the hell?
And honestly, like the static on the TV is very
Yeah, I
scary
would
as
have
well.
seen that and been like, okay, this is a horror movie. See ya.
Yes, exactly. And when she leaves, she runs directly into Dan, literally. They go to a diner and she's drinking a soda because Dan says sugar helps, meaning like with shock and trauma. And by the way, I think it's really nice that he's caring for her right now instead of furious like most people would be if they found her. Yeah. I like him a lot, by the way. I love this character.
He's a great actor. Have you seen Narcos?
Yeah, it's so good and it's so different and he looks so different. Wow. No, but I love him and I really love him in this so far. And he asks what happened and starts grilling her on who sent her there because he knows he's talked to his coworker and that story wasn't true. And she tells him she wasn't trying to take his story. And so then he assumes, oh, you knew Julia then. Like you can tell it's personal. No. Oh, you knew Pablo then. And she tells him the truth. And Wagner's acting is so good here. How should I say that? How do you say his name in South America?
Wagner. In Brazil, you say Wagner.
His name is so strange for me because this is actually a family name in Germany. So,
Oh, really?
yeah, do you know this famous componist,
Oh, yeah.
Wagner? Yeah.
So his acting is so good. He seems genuinely shocked and affected that someone tried to do to her what they did to Julia. He like seems to care about her. And he says, I get why you want to change, but you picked the one city in Florida without a beach, which is funny and unexpected in
Yeah, I
a
thought that
serious
was funny.
conversation. And I just came from Orlando and I agree with him. That kind of humidity in just April it absolutely requires a beach to tolerate.
I think that's why they click, because he's not treating her like a victim. He's treating
Yeah.
her. I mean, he understands, he cares, he's concerned, but he doesn't pity her for it. And I think that's why she connects to him.
Yeah, I like their relationship a lot. He asked why the detective thought it was the same guy, and she admits she was cut up like Julia. But I heard his voice in Pablo, and it wasn't him. And he asked her what she was going to do if it was, and it's pretty clear from her look what she planned to do. What do you think the point of the next scene with Jin Suk in her office was? She politely refuses getting food with her coworker and reporting the door incident because she should have had her key. I guess that's the reason, to point out that someone else has her key for the whole scene.
I think so.
Okay. And then she zeroes in on a poster at the end saying that the planetarium is run by Chicago Park District. So I didn't quite get that focus either. And then she's in the planetarium. Planetariums are cool, by the way. And as it ends and empties, Harper's sitting behind her and starts talking to her. And he proceeds to lecture her on stars, which is pretty ballsy to mansplain to an astronomer. There are probably some metaphors therein. The stars that you do see, they're all dead. The ones that are shining, they're exploding in on themselves. And she says, actually, that's only true for the most distant stars. The ones in our galaxy live on long past us. I don't know what it is, but maybe you still see Kirby, who's a little bit like Walking Dead person. But he's super awkward in his response.
Because he didn't like being corrected.
Yeah. You're such a funny, like 5 seconds. I had to rewind and watch it again. And he says that's how I heard it. And then he calls her by name just to fuck with her and asks if she still doesn't recognize him. And she said if he hasn't been on one of her tours, then she doesn't know him. She must not have a lot of friends.
I was a bit confused because didn't she have a name tag on? I'm surprised she looked shocked.
Ah, good point.
Yeah.
I think it's because she's called Jinsuk, and he called her Jeannie.
Oh,
So like he had a previous contact with her.
that's a good point, Deanna.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's a different name from the name tag. Gotcha. Thank you. Good observation. Yeah, so I guess she doesn't have much of a social life. Those are the only people she knows on her tour. But he acknowledges he's making her nervous, which was his goal, and he lets her go. And she's still not as shaken as she should be, like you said, Kimberly. Like I feel like she should be living her life a little more alarmed at this point with the weird stuff going on.
Yeah. When she says, "I don't know you," he says, "No, not today." Like that was really creepy.
Yeah.
Like
you
would
wouldn't
be
just
like,
you wouldn't just shake that
"Eh."
off. Yeah.
no, I'd be running out of the star show.
Yeah.
Then we're at the morgue, and Dan is friends with the ME, the medical examiner, Iris. He actually mentioned her at the bar earlier. And I think it's hilarious when she offers a bowl of candy, because in what scenario would you ever offer candy in a morgue? Like it's either everyone's dead or they're identifying dead bodies. And I also feel like the candy's probably absorbing like all these weirdly gross chemicals and corpse air. Like I thought the bowl of candy was
Ew.
really funny.
It's like Harry Potter candy. It's gonna be like morgue flavored beans.
Yeah. And Iris starts grilling Kirby about her scars. And Kirby's just very uncomfortable, understandably. She's in a morgue and she's having to talk about her near murder. And finally Iris just asks if she can just see them, which makes Kirby more uncomfortable, but she does do it. I didn't even see her like acquiesce. I didn't see her say yes. I just saw Iris be like, all right, get on the table.
Yeah, she was pushy.
Yeah. And also like that table, literally a corpse table. Can't you look at them standing up?
She had warm sheets though. Like, come on, it's comfortable.
Why did she have warm sheets? I guess you just got them out of the dryer for the corpse. All right, fair enough. I'm thinking it's like a spa morgue. And so she lays on this like cold metal corpse table, which, ugh. And there's another mirror above her. And the scar is a cross, kind of like curvy. And Iris is talking about it very medically, and she can read a lot about it, it seems, from looking at it, despite its age. And she asks if anything was removed from her stomach, and Kirby reveals that some of her intestines were removed.
How did she survive this? I mean, I was like, this is a huge scar. This is all her abdomen.
Right. And they took
and
out
intestines have been removed. I mean,
yeah.
What would they do? They just like, would they pierce the intestine and then shove the object in? Like maybe there wasn't that much removed, but I don't know. It's all weird to me.
I didn't analyze it as deeply because I have no idea.
I have a note about this scene because it was pretty intense, you know.
Yeah.
Because Iris made her lie down when in the same table where she was examining a woman who was killed the same way that Kirby was supposed to die.
Yeah.
And that's what I think Iris give her a lot of information about how her attack took place and everything, but also is pushing Kirby to relive her attack again.
Right. Yeah. So traumatic.
So traumatic. And I was talking to Scarlett about it. And I think Kirby's reality changed because of her trauma and how she's dealing with
it.
With it. Exactly.
Huh. That's really interesting. That makes a lot of sense because that moment was highly traumatic. Like I was shocked watching it that Iris would ask that of her, you know?
Well, I realized in this specific moment about it. Because right. he reality changed again after that.
Yeah.
Not only her reality, I mean, yes, her reality, but like Kate mentioned, Dan was talking with the police detective in the bar and he mentions Iris. And then, you know, Iris is no more. It's Howard. It's a different forensic dude. And he knew, like, Dan knew, like, for Dan, everything was just, you know, like, it wasn't Iris. It was always Howard. So that's also, like, so does it change for everybody? Does it just change? Is it just her perspective? So that's why Melissa and I were like, I think the way that her reality shifts has to do with how far away or along she is in her trauma. How is she healing or how is she learning to live with it? So I think that's kind of like why.
Yeah, that's really interesting. And I had that note after the episode to ask, like, so what happens? What is the experience of other people? They don't seem to be aware, but their reality is changing along with hers, you know? So then she asks Iris if he left something inside of Julia. And suddenly Iris is turned into a man named Howard, and she obviously jumps up and is very alarmed. And Dan acts like it's been Howard all along, and Kirby sees the man's medical license on the wall, so she realizes it's her reality that's changing again. And she curses at Dan for bringing her here and storms out. And Dan and the Emmy Howard are like baffled. Back home, Kirby takes like a moment outside the door to prepare before finding out what life is inside there, which is really sad, and I just can't imagine living that existence. And she finds Rachel singing loudly with the dog, Grendel. Kirby's upset, and she tells her mom, everything is not like always. Everything is changing. Nothing is like it should be, and I don't recognize it anymore after the assault. For 6 years. Again, I just can't believe she's been living like this for 6 years. And I wonder if it's getting like more aggressive. I kind of assume it is. I don't know.
Like some changes are just like small and tiny, like the table. I think it's not a really big change.
Right.
Whereas that a woman changed into a man, like in a completely different person, is a big change.
Big change.
So I was wondering, like, why are changes like sometimes smaller, sometimes bigger than others? And I like the trauma explanation a lot, but I was also wondering if it had to do probably with Harper's doings, what he changes in the past. So, but I don't know.
Yeah, because when he kills her, that's when she gets her apartment moves, you know.
Yeah.
The most dramatic shift.
This part actually kind of reminded me of The Handmaid's Tale, and it was only because when she says it starts with these little things and then big things, it just reminded me of the before Gilead, and then what was it that June says, boiling pot or something, and
in a gradually heating bathtub.
Yeah,
you did. Well, you know.
I also think that what she said, that what you just read, that everything is like always and then it's not, I think that's just a perfect parallel to trauma, because she used to see things a certain way, and now after you get assaulted like that, you're not, you know, nothing's going to be the way that it was, and you're going to have a lot of problems adjusting to it.
Yeah, and I think that this whole book is like, and show as a metaphor for that, like you're saying, because even in The Handmaid's Tale, you see when she gets back to Canada and she's in the grocery store, all of a sudden she's like assaulted with you know, by just a water bottle sets her off, and she's assaulted with memories of Gilead that she can't seem to stop. And I think that happens to trauma victims all the time in real life, not as dramatically as men or women changing into men, but you have to live your life like that, and that's horrific as well. And I watched Sharp Objects this week. I don't know if you guys saw that, just because I saw it referenced as being similar, sort of, in not as dramatic reality changes, but it was the same idea. Would be terrible to live with, and sad. Good show though. I enjoyed it.
In this scene also, I noticed that she tells her mum that she's told her all this before, but her mum says, no, you haven't told me this before. So that's another, you know, sign that.
And like the look on Lizzie's face then too is so good and sad, because just be impossible.
How do you explain that your reality is changing constantly if people cannot remember?
Right. And especially with Dan, who's trying to investigate her murder, and she wants him to trust her and believe her, but she can't, you know, she can't tell him, okay, so my reality changes all the time. Right. And she just sounds crazy, and it would just discount everything. So, poor Kirby. And her mom tells her that moving across the country won't change anything. And at work, Dan is writing this story about Pablo when Kirby walks up behind him, and she's disappointed and tells him so, because, you know, she told him that he's not the murderer. She's sure of it. And he seems to change his mind on filing the story. And in the meeting, when his boss calls on him, he hesitates, but he tells her that he's pursuing a serial killer angle on the story. And then we get to watch the serial killer kill for the first time, killing Jin Suk. And she's fighting back as Kirby is pounding on the door of her apartment because her keys aren't working anymore. And Harper finally overpowers Jin Suk, and we see her lying dead in a pool of blood. And at that moment, Kirby's door opens to find a stranger living in her apartment, and not with her this time.
What did he put? Like, what did Harper put on this concrete part of this telescope room? Like, he went up the stairs a little and put something there. What was that?
Yeah,
Did you see that?
I couldn't quite see what it was.
I thought like maybe it was the knife he used later, but it wasn't. So I was confused.
I wonder
with
if it's something that he's about to put in her intestines. Although, is she dead?
We don't know who really, because she hasn't been discovered in this.
No, that's what I thought at the end of the episode. I was like, I wonder if she's actually dead or not. But I guess we'll find out.
I was pretty sure she's dead, but
there was a lot of blood. So.
But if Kirby can survive something like this, maybe.
I think actually maybe one of the main plot points of the show is kind of stop that happening. You know, like it's something that happened already, but Kirby maybe in her investigation kind of.
Like in future episodes, we'll figure.
Yeah, but I think probably I didn't notice the object, but I bet it's what he's planning on putting inside of her. And I only think she's definitely dead because the apartment changed at that moment. I think that involved a big event such as him killing her. So the stranger tells Kirby he lives in this apartment, obviously not with her. And I guess every time he kills someone, her world drastically changes. So she looks at her wallet and now her home address reads 3B instead of 2B. So she walks upstairs to find out what life she's living now and goes into 3B, understandably quite nervous walking into her new apartment. And she's psyched to see Kitty Grindel, which I think Lizzie prefers cats to dogs. So.
I was actually upset about that. I was like, where did the doggo go? Can the doggo please come back? Although I do like cats, but that doggo was real cute.
You prefer dog Grindel. Yeah. They can both come live with me. They're both super cute.
Yeah, they're both cute.
It's too bad it has to be either or though. That's annoying.
Can't we be friends? I want them to be friends.
It'd be so sad to lose your pet. And she's like terrified when she sees Marcus from work in her apartment. And he approaches her and tries to hug her and find out what's wrong. And that is where the episode ends. So
boom, mindfuck.
She must be a big Godzilla fan. There was another big poster of Godzilla.
I noticed that the Godzilla poster is the same image that she has in the.
It's not the same.
It's not the same. It's not the same.
I don't know. I looked it up because I was drawn to the Japanese writing because I needed to find out what Godzilla movies are like presented there. And on the cup, it's actually the movie Son of Godzilla from 1967. And the poster is Godzilla 2, Godzilla Raids Again from 1955.
Did you watch them for research?
No.
Lazy.
Come on, I had like one day to watch all the episodes.
Yeah, this was challenging, everyone. Good work. Binging the show and taking notes in 24 hours. So I will let it slide that you did not watch the Godzilla movies.
I have a baby, a 2-month-old baby at home.
Excuses. Always excuses from you, Yulia. By the way, Yulia drew our amazing logo that I love so much. And I love her so much. You're the best. You're so talented. We're so lucky to have you.
Yes, it's amazing.
I love doing the art for this and for Handmaid's Tale as well.
I love you doing it. So it really works out well, this relationship.
Yeah.
So my first question for Yulia and Kimberly were, how confused were you through this episode, watching this first episode?
Yes.
Very confused.
Yes. It was a bit of a mind fuck.
Yeah.
Did your Daves watch it with you?
No.
They did. Well, mine did. I should have said, I said they did, but no.
One day.
You know something I don't.
He came to watch and then he went back. He can time travel. Oh no, he can.
Oh, then I need to be careful that my reality doesn't change as well. No.
Yeah. We'll swap Daves for a day. Oh god. Yay.
I mean, if I hadn't read the description where it already says that Harper can time travel, I would have been helpful. Even more confused. Like, what's this guy saying? Yeah. Like, hey, not today.
Right.
will be, and
He
like,
says the
oof.
weirdest things. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Kimberly, you didn't read that? I didn't know it said that either.
No, like I posted all those interviews and stuff on Instagram, but I didn't listen to them.
Well, that's good though. But it's good because you can come in fresh and
Yes, I didn't want to know
experience it.
like too much about it.
My husband thought that I was watching Hamilton. How many times did you see that episode? Never. It's a new show.
He wasn't proud of you for finally watching something that wasn't Handmaid's Tale.
No, he was.
How rude.
How rude.
Such disrespect.
The disrespect. No.
When I write you a Christmas card, it's only going to be to you.
So she
Um,
was. So Kirby was what, 7 or 8 years old when he visited her at the beginning.
Yeah, making us do
I think
math.
like on her driver's license, her birthday was 16th of May, 57.
57.
So
1957. Kirby's.
I noticed this is April on her desk calendar, so she's not quite. I don't know.
So
what I'm saying.
she's.
It's
so
April.
she's-
35?
Yeah. So yeah, she's 34, right?
And she'll turn 35.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In 92.
Okay, that makes sense.
We're good at math. What was your guys' impression of her relationship with her mom?
But I felt like they had a quite close relationship, just because also of the way they've been talking to each other, like her
The banter.
mom's- Yeah, the banter, and yeah,
And they live with each other, so
yeah.
Yeah.
they must be able to tolerate each other.
I think the way that we see the mom in that first episode has a lot to do with in what place Kirby is in terms of her trauma, because then the people at work also kind of don't notice her. There's kind of like this invisibility to her with those people. Her mom looks affected. She's drinking. So I'm thinking maybe that's just a consequence of not being able to help her daughter, or seeing that her daughter is so lost, or maybe feeling guilty. She's a mom of what happened. So I think that's where they're at in that reality, maybe.
I like that it's very similar to the book in a way, because it's like her mom cares about her, loves her, but still is kind of a bad mom in a way. Like I noticed, for example, that when after Kirby says what she was planning to move to Florida, right, and she cares about her, but she's just like trying to kind of find some things for her to take and that stuff. But at the same time, she says, "No, I'm gonna keep this room. I am not gonna be able to pay for the room, so I'm gonna get another person." And in another scene, when Kirby comes, she already has another person, and she's like showing the apartment to that person. Like already getting a roommate.
Yeah.
So yeah, but it's similar to the book in that way. So I found that really cool.
And it's interesting. I mean, and you can also tell that she calls her Rachel. So I feel like that's a little bit telling of not quite the same mother-daughter relationship where you're looking up to her. What did you guys think that did read the book? Like what do you think of Kirby? Book Kirby versus show Kirby.
I thought I was gonna like the book Kirby more because I heard Elizabeth Moss's interviews, and she said that she wasn't gonna be so detached or she was gonna be different in that sense. And I really enjoyed the Kirby in the book, but then obviously I saw the show and I really liked the Kirby in the show, because even though in this first episode, she's obviously not okay, but she's also strong. Like Kimberly said, she just walked into this guy that she thought attacked her apartment. Yeah. Not scared. And when she talks about what happens to her, you can see that she's affected. But when Dan asks her, what were you going to do? You can see that anger in her face. So I think that's really interesting how she plays those two parts. So I like her character a lot.
Yeah, in the book, I think she's a little spunkier, maybe. I don't know how to describe that exactly.
She's younger also.
And she's younger. Yeah, that's the biggest deal. So Dan's older.
How much younger is she in the book?
25, 24.
So
Yeah,
like
like
10 years younger.
Yeah, like young 20s. And then Dan in the book is much older, like, I don't know, 40.
No, 50, I think.
Really?
Older.
Yeah. Yeah, so they have a very different relationship because of the age. But again, I really like the relationship this version has, but it's just very different from the book for me.
Has there been an interview where they've said why they did that? Or?
I assume that the author of the book and the show and Silka just really wanted Lizzie Moss is my guess, because who doesn't want Lizzie Moss?
They still could have
And-
made him older though, right?
Yeah, they could
Yeah.
have. But I really like Wagner.
I think Wagner is a little bit older than Kirby. They made him look like older, but a little bit, not like the book.
It looks like he's lived a life. Like, you know how when in the scene with the cop saying about his past, you can kind of tell
Yeah.
the way they've styled him that he's probably drunk a few too many.
He throughout he looks kind of drunk to me. Like his eyes are red. His face is like oily, and I don't know. Just strikes me as big drinker.
Do you notice that after the Kirby reality change at the end, he cannot move to Florida anymore because she's married now.
Oh, that's where
So
that went.
she has to face his
Ah,
new reality.
That's
She
interesting.
can escape.
Yeah.
Was her notebook the same color? I think it was, but I can't really remember.
Notebook.
I don't know. I don't remember.
Notebook.
Sorry.
I have to look at it because I was wondering if her notebook would change, but I can't remember. It reminded me of have you seen that movie with Drew Barrymore and is it Adam Sandler and she loses her memory?
50 First Dates.
Yeah, that one, and she has to watch the video every morning of where she is or who she is.
That'd be awful.
I think that what her mother tells her, moving across countries and going to get you something different, you want to stop feeling this way, you better start right here. It's kind of like that parallel of her now not being able to move, because if you can't figure out what's happening to you here, it's gonna follow you.
Yeah.
Like you can't move away from trauma. You have to learn how to live with it. And I think that's
Yeah.
also part of what the show's trying to show with her shifting reality.
And
Yeah.
also, I think that part when she says that, when Rachel says that, is when she decides to actually face it. Because next scene is she goes to Dan and convinces him to not run the story just yet, but keep searching. And she mentions the objects, and he says that that's not enough. And she says like it should be. That evidence is what she has to show that it's true, and it should be enough. And actually Lizzie has mentioned that scene as one of her favorites, because that's where they kind of even if she is very vulnerable, she finds strength, and it comes from, I think, that comment from her mother before. So it's really cool, and I love that scene as well, with Dan actually kind of trusting her also after.
Yeah.
She also gets stronger as she finds out things, as she gets more invested in investigating. Like she kind of like owns her own trauma, or she's really focused on investigating. That's her purpose, and she gets stronger as those things progress too.
Yep.
What just came to mind as well when I was watching the first scene, like I watched the first episode twice so I could take notes. I was just first time watch and then watch all 3 episodes, and then I watched the first episode again, and I was like, then it kind of dawned on me that that this little bee wing reference could be like a little nod to the butterfly effect, because that says that if a butterfly moves its wings, it can change the future. So that he takes the wings of this bee, kind of reminded me of that a little. That because it's kind of a constant butterfly effect with Kirby's realities, I think, because it changes so much, and it starts with this bees or multiple bees, maybe, we don't know how many bees he already took the wings off. So yeah.
Why do you think Harper chooses these specific girls to kill them? Like, what's the reasoning of choosing these girls? I mean, obviously, I want to know for those that haven't read the book first, and then those that have read it. He chose Kirby. I mean, we know he chooses Jin Suk. we think he killed Julia.
Well, at first I kind of thought like maybe it's when they're at their peak, like I don't know, their peak in life, but I didn't really get that from Ginny.
Yeah, that's what I felt too, because Lizzie said that that's what the shine means. They're about to realize their full potential or live
Yeah.
the life that they've worked towards. And I didn't get that impression from her either. They didn't.
But I think like the
show us
scene
that.
with Ginny, she went to this telescope room, so maybe she was about to discover something very breathtaking or like
Yeah.
mind-blowing for
Yeah,
like she's an astronomer, so I mean
that's a great point. Maybe that is what that was
Yeah.
supposed to be.
Yeah, because the guy ushered her away pretty quickly, obviously, to get her out of the party. It was obviously something cool or
Yeah,
different to look at.
yeah.
that's a
And obviously he obviously knows what's coming. So he's killing their vibe, so to speak.
but that's a great point that she was about to discover something. I like that a lot.
Yeah, I can't wait to see Kirby's back story.
Yeah, but I also just wonder why he's doing that, because there's no real motive shown in the first, like within the first 3 episodes. I mean, he's doing this purely out of joy because he likes to kill women
Yes.
or
I
stalk
mean,
Yeah.
people. I mean, I guess it hopefully will be revealed why he's doing that, why he's putting so
Mhm.
much effort in killing specifically these people. But I'm waiting for it. I want to know. It's like, why is he doing that?
I mean, I guess with serial killers, though, what is their motivation? I mean, it is just to kill.
I mean, yeah, they get a full like joy from doing that, of
Yeah.
course. But why put in so much effort? And like
Yeah,
this
totally.
is something
Yeah.
I'm still missing in this puzzle, kind of. What's
Right.
it? Like there must be more to it than just
He also seems to put a lot more effort into messing with Julia than he did with Jin Suk. I assume anyone that's listening has watched the 3 episodes. So. But if you haven't, you should go now.
If not, just turn off the podcast
Yes,
now.
just go now. But with Julia, like that took a lot of work to take those pictures of her. Like one day, travel back, go back, drop the picture. Then you have to take the next picture somehow because he had multiple pictures in the house that were clearly of her in that moment.
I think he enjoyed more stalking Julia than Jin Suk.
Yeah, like
That's
maybe because she was like
Afraid.
yeah,
was
she was
afraid.
like no, because he tried to touch her and she was like pushing him away, don't touch me. And
Yeah.
she was more afraid and more like wary, and also like probably the only one who kind of changed her behavior because she was stalked. That's what at least was said by her colleague or whatever, because she was
Yeah,
afraid of
he
the stalker.
did.
She called the police, and maybe that was definitely, I think, the reason he was like so much more enjoying stalking her than the others, because she was afraid.
it was
really
working.
afraid.
Yeah.
Though, I mean, obviously this isn't I think it's the second episode of that scene in the market with that other girl that he follows. And Melissa mentioned it to me. He could have killed her there. Obviously he likes to stalk them first, but he tells her this could have taken years. So why would I bother with you? And like, it just gives you the impression that he was gonna also do this with this girl, but she does something in that scene that completely changes his mind, and he just doesn't bother with her anymore. So I couldn't understand exactly what it was, but it was very different from what he did with Julia and what he did with Jin Suk. I think it was because she did what he said. Like he was not smart enough to run away. She followed him what he said, and he says something about it. Like, why did you go? What did you do? What I told you?
said.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah.
Like that's not how this was supposed to go, type of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's going to be interesting. Okay. I think that's a wrap on our very first Shining Girls episode. For episode 2, come back tomorrow and we will have another discussion for you. And for episode 3 on Wednesday. Thanks for listening. Bye.
Bye.